Truth Consultech, synergizing transformation.
Hi, this is Shirish Kulkarni, founder and CEO of Throat Consultech, and under this initiative called as Hatke, we are speaking to various personalities, individuals, entrepreneurs, individuals who have actually taken different turns in their career path, and individuals who are really done well. And we have today Arjun Dikshit with us. Arjun, really, nice to see you in this platform.
Thank you, Shirish. Thanks for the opportunity. Glad to be here.
Excellent. And, just to explain about Arjun's background, he has spent around 20 plus years in corporate and photography had been his passion. So after that kind of flashpoint in his mind, he has ventured into photography as a full-time initiative. And we would definitely like to know more about it, but it is really wonderful to see, transformation of a corporate, a kind of a cushy life, comfortable being into a product-based company, which is a global company, into something that you have to start on your own. So, Arjun, how did it all happen, and where was that flashpoint for you?
Okay. So photography has been a passion right from childhood. I used to do quite a lot of photography. I used to shoot during family functions, and whenever I got a chance, my dad had got a DSLR. So right from about 1985s, I've been shooting with DSLRs, so kind of got used to it. And then as years progressed, I went into computer management studies, computer science studies, and then got a job, and then that's how my IT career started. Mm-hmm. Now, after that, still photography was a passion. I did a lot of wildlife shoots whenever we used to go out for family outings and so on. After a few years, then I started learning photography, fashion photography in particularly, with a famous photographer in Pune. And then that's how kind of more and more I got involved into photography. So that's when I started getting the right kind of equipment, DSLR cameras, lights, and all the necessary things required. That's how kind of I moved into photography.
Right. So was there a moment in your life you said, no, now this has to be given priority?
Mm-hmm.
Was there?
Absolutely.
Because, in IT world, there is a stress, there is a huge amount of pressure for delivery. Right. And as you grow in an organization, you reach a point where you become, a point of focus.
Yeah.
And it is good to be there, proud to be there. You deliver. I believe you can talk about the kind of product that you are working on, pretty exciting product in marketing space. But was that a kind of a flashpoint there?
Yes, absolutely. As you mentioned, I mean, in IT, I was heading R&D, and we were building marketing, operations management, customer relationship management softwares. And this is into the marketing space. So we had Fortune 500 customers, whereas to kind of talk to them. And then I was a subject matter expert in marketing software. So that was the center focus point in IT. Now, moving from there into photography, it was, yes, I mean, you're focused into one domain, and then slowly it happened. So actually, the flashpoint came when I started to do lots of shoots, working with large organizations, busy with that, and doing the shoots only on weekends, and then editing whenever I get a chance. So this was not kind of gelling together. So because I could not spend as much time in either spaces, including families. So that's when kind of I said that, yes, I mean, I have to do something in photography, which means I have to quit IT and then focus on that so that I can build on that. So when I started my studio, that was a flashpoint, actually. Till then, I was hiring studios outside, but then one of my apartments, I converted that into a studio. And then that really became a kind of push point to say that, yes, now move full time into this.
It must be really extremely satisfying, right? Looking back and being able to do what you want at what time you want, the way that you want, and still able to reach now. You've covered 4 pageants of Mrs. Maharashtra, Mrs. India, So that is one domain. Other domain is where you're covering various product, elite products, as well as you are into a domain in which you are covering something like an architectural firm's products range also.
Right.
So how do you see your journey of being a single person who is actually trying to drive it, having huge amount of passion and sense of satisfaction, but then commercially being there, stand on
Right.
your feet and saying that this is Arjun Dikshit photography as an entity?
Right. Excellent question. So when you look at photography, typically people tend to follow one of the genres, like fashion photography or product photography or wedding or any other specific genre like wildlife photography. When I started photography, I shot lots of things and then got interested in different aspects of each of these genres. So for product, you need a different vision. For wildlife, you need patience. And you have to be with nature. Then for fashion, it's a different perspective that you need to have. And what appealed to me is you are taking pictures with a camera, period. Now that's something that is common across everything. But when I'm shooting an interior, it's a different mindset that I have to have versus when I'm shooting fashion or a portfolio, it's a different mindset that I have to have. So that I saw that as a challenge. That is, a camera is a tool, but how do you apply that in all of these areas and the different kinds of ways you can approach each of these genres of photography? That really kind of challenged me, and that's how I started shooting everything. So right from weddings to interior architecture to fashion.
Wonderful. Nowadays the phones are so capable that everybody is almost carrying a very powerful camera, and then we tend to get that feeling that if I can do it, I can just capture it. So, but I believe that about the frame and the kind of expertise you require to for the color shading, lighting. How do you get that kind of a skill and understanding about this subject?
Absolutely. So this is one aspect is learning from my teachers, and second is through experience and what looks good. So of course, learning happened, and then experience, it's building on and building on in different areas. So yes, I mean, mobile phones are getting much more powerful. They're getting much more sophisticated, and people can click great pictures with a phone. But like as I mentioned, that different genres have different perspectives. Similarly, even if you take a phone, you can take great pictures with a phone also. And then it's not limited to the technology you're using. So you might be using a phone, you might be using a DSLR, or you might be using the latest mirrorless high-end cameras. But if your vision is not specific or your perspective is not set, you'll get a similar kind of pictures across everything. What goes from good to great is essentially change in the perspective. So for example, I might shoot a hall, just take a mobile phone and click it straight forward. Or I can change my angles. Or I can set up the lights differently. Or I can say that, okay, now I want the window, half of the window into the frame. So like the composition that you mentioned is very critical. And that's also important for mobile photography. So mobile is a tool which will give you great pictures, but your mind will set up the composition as to what you want in the frame. How do you want it into the frame? Whether you take a lower angle, higher angle, left side more, right side more. Those aspects is what gives photographer as professionals an edge over just a mobile photography, because that is the skill that you apply into this area.
Right. Pretty interesting. I believe it will be a journey in itself where these insights have to be built, and as you experience it and as you reflect it in your output, I believe some of the outputs that you have created for the brands, like for magazines, to cover those photographs. How important is, I'm tending towards using a word called as perfectionist, but accurate, I would call it accurate, precise. And are you kind of a person where it goes one more, I'm not happy, I think it should go further? I've seen you closely, but is that the way that it happens?
It does. And in photography, you kind of are never satisfied with the pictures that you take.
Right.
because you could add a little bit more light, you can change a position a little
Right.
bit, you can change the angle a little bit. So there are multiple things that, of course, after looking at your own pictures, you think, okay, I should have, or I could have done this
Right.
much better. Right.
Mm.
Now, it's like every day, right? I mean, I could live my life in a much better way, but you're living moment to moment. What is this moment is the reality. What is, when you look back at yesterday, yes, you could have done thousands of things, but yesterday is already gone. So I think the same thing applies into photography also. You take a picture and then it's gone. Your frame is captured. Now, what you can do more is tomorrow's work. So if I'm shooting a similar kind of product or similar kind of fashion, I could do better. What I've learned from past, I could apply in the future. And that's the continuous learning in photography, because like you said, perfect or close to perfect. There's, to me at least, there's nothing perfect. What appeals to you is perfect. If I take a picture and let's say 90% of the people love it, that's perfect. So like as you are being behind the camera, your perspective will define what you want to show to other people. It's like art, right? Painting. When an artist is painting, it's what is in his mind, his vision in his mind will come forward. And for the seer, it's essentially his perspective get overlapped with what is shown. Right. So that's where it's continuous learning process. It's continuously applying new things into the next job that you have. So that's interesting. That's pretty much interesting in this field.
Right. One question which is a little bit abstract, and it's about the beauty, concept of beauty. Now, I would like to understand. Now, it's a perspective also towards where you're covering, pageants as we see, and you're covering
Right.
products. You're covering the nature also at times. So,
Yes.
how do you define beauty from your point of view?
Beauty is what appeals to you. And when you look at that picture and you say, wow, this is great. So that's beauty. So in convention, now when I'm covering pageants or doing portfolios, physical beauty is one aspect. So that's something that is God given, right? I mean, I can't straighten my nose, for example, or I have to spend a lot of money and do whatever things I have to ensure the paint. But that beauty is one aspect. So I would not kind of consider that as, in my context of beauty. But whenever you look at a picture and you say, wow, this is an excellent picture, that's beautiful. Right. So whether it be person, whether it be product, now I've shot something like a washing machine. Now, how do you see beauty in a washing machine or a refrigerator? Right? So that picture, that light composition, the kind of view angle that you take for that product, that's something you have to kind of see first in your mind and then capture with the camera. So that seeing in your mind is important before you even capture. And that will kind of get the beauty out of whatever you shoot.
Wonderful. So at times people say that I see music. So some people who are and you are also an expert flute player, but you see that kind of a tune before you play it. Likewise, yes. I believe there is a flash some point in in time travel that you are kind of compose that frame in your mind and then you click. Is that how it happens?
Absolutely. You would see lots of photographers spending more time just looking around than clicking a picture. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to look at a perspective which will look beautiful. So even if you do landscapes, it's how do you look at a landscape? Now, you could have a tree which is closer to you and the mountains further away. You can capture the tree in the frame or not. If you just change a few steps, you'll get a different perspective. The same mountain will look very different if I sit on the ground and keep the camera on the ground and then shoot with a little bit of grass in my foreground versus just a standing shot. Or I might just climb a tree branch if it is climbable and then shoot from there. You'll get a different perspective. So while shooting also, if I'm looking at a product, I would move around, look at it from different angles and see how the light is falling on that product, which angle makes sense, from where it's shining, from where I can get a good light and so on. So that's the kind of movement that you need to do. And then fix your camera and shoot. So the process of finding the right perspective might take you half an hour in landscapes. Of course, it does. And the shooting is like one click.
Okay.
So that's the difference.
Right, right. Now, thinking about this latest technology where you have different types of cameras, SLRs, advanced SLRs, filters, lenses, various types of lenses,
Right.
and you have this mirrorless cameras also. So, do you think, if you have to weigh a creative person behind the camera with the kind of devices that you are now, technology is going to go really and provide you whatever you want if you spend that kind of money. So how do you find that technology actually making you empowered, or you think that you should actually empower your creativity more than really, how is the trade-off between this?
Yeah, there's a huge weightage on the person behind the camera. Technology is a tool which you use to capture an image. So yes, of course, I mean, it is useful. If you take a SLR from 1980s, which I started shooting with, versus today's, it did not have autofocus. It did not have auto aperture. It has lens-based aperturings and manual focusing, which now you have autofocus. So it has become simpler. The photography has become simpler. With mirrorless cameras, the cameras are lighter. You get huge number of focusing points. The autofocusing systems have advanced. So there's a lot of advancements in that which will help you in photography. But the key to good pictures is the person behind the camera, no matter what it is. So even if you shoot with your mobile phone, you change your perspective as a person, your pictures will change. Wow. Then whether it be mobile or whether it's a latest high-tech camera. And in some cases, yes, of course, you can use that technology. So if I'm shooting a video, for example, nowadays with mirrorless, the autofocusing systems have advanced. Earlier, we have to do manual focusing when people are moving, when, let's say, animals are moving. But now it can track the object moving around and it will focus automatically. So that's going to kind of help you in taking good pictures, getting more out of the pictures and videos that you're doing than you would earlier. Of course, people mastered the art of focusing and then setting up, so that's given. But then, yes, creativity, of course, it's the highest weightage of that, is what I would say.
Wonderful. Now, about the trends in photography, now you'll see different ways that photography is getting looked at. It is at times becoming a commodity also. At times, you see a real sci-fi kind of ways that movies get picturized, and many things happen in the digital world only. Correct. So how do you see this change and transformation impacting you or impacting the industry?
Impacting me, of course, it's been quite a journey, right, from photography to videography, where there's lots of advancements in terms of digital. So like you would have seen some behind the screens, lots of movies get shot on green screens, and then they will put After Effects after they've shot the actual film. So that's where the editing part, the part where you do animations, you can be next to a dinosaur without being there actually. So you can bring those aspects. You can see buildings falling, Empire State Building falling without actually crumbling down. So that's where the effects digitally you can add onto either pictures or videos. The technology has improved quite a lot. And this, of course, encourages me to get into editing also, because I do my own photo editing, I do my own video editing. Wow. And learning new ways of editing, learning new digital technologies to improve the kind of editing and the effects you're bringing into the pictures and movies has increased. Right. So these technologies are coming into phones also, because you'll see a lot of effects into the phone. You have lots of transitions, you can stitch videos, you can add music at your fingertips. And that is kind of the commoditization, as what you're mentioning. That is okay now. Earlier, people could not add videos on their own. Now it's on the phone that you can just quickly add a audio to a video, and then you're all set. And you can get good videos out of it.
Right.
So from an impact perspective, of course, you have to keep up as a photographer and videographer. I have to keep up with the latest technology and implement it, see its advantage. And for the industry also, they can do huge amount of new things. So I mean, of course, earlier movies like Star Trek and so on, they thought of mobiles kind of devices which weren't existing then, and now everybody has a mobile. So that kind of stuff you can kind of creatively think and now see or put it into videos and photography.
But as you mentioned, I remember in Star Trek that communicator was there, a flip,
Correct.
a flip
Correct.
phone. Now it's become with Motorola 10, 15 years back as a de facto standard of communication. I believe that's how technology has to be, taken into account and adopted to, I believe. And you master your skills. And I think the message I'm clearly getting is that individuals' enrichment as a photographer, as a person who is
Right.
seeing those frames, composing them is the key to success, I believe.
Yes.
Now, moving forward as something that we look forward into the future,
Mhm.
do you see something that you want to definitely capture in your camera and be proud of for it, or you aspire to do certain shoot? Is that
Mhm.
there some fire within you that actually is driving you to get there?
Yes, absolutely. And moving with times nowadays, videos is the new media, new in media. Everything you need videos, and it'll express much more better way than still photographs. Of course, its applications, of course, do vary, but and that's where I'm getting more and more into videography, doing more and more kind of cinematic kind of style of videos. I do corporate interviews also, so those also I'm trying to blend in a lot of videography in it, and that's the way forward. That's where I intend to implement my skills in that way, and also having 360 product videos. Now these are interactive things. We would have seen that earlier. If I look at certain Amazon pictures, I can see a product, let's say a handbag or a laptop. With the mouse, I can turn it around and I can move it around,
It's
and
kind of
then
a
see all the
walkthrough.
angles.
It's kind
Yes,
of a
absolutely.
walkthrough. Yeah.
Correct. So that's something I've grown into, taking 360 pictures of a product and then having it moved around for greater visibility for the customers.
Excellent. Now, one tenet of another of your hobby is definitely looking at music, and flute is something that you have been pursuing
Mhm.
last maybe 10 years. So do you see that, the symphony, the harmony that you see in music reflects onto photography and the way that you define your beauty? Is that how it works for you?
It does, and both are creative worlds, and both both have their own places in terms of creativity and how you can apply it. So there is a lot of synergy in both of these fields, and what you look at, you listen to a tune or you play a tune, and it's beautiful or not, it should be pleasurable to you, right? If it is pleasurable to you, that's beautiful. If it's not pleasurable to you, then it's not beautiful. I think the same thing analogy applies to the pictures also, and what you love is what you need to create, and that creativity in both of these fields is similar. I mean, it's the same, I would say. There's a similarity between the two.
Right. Moving forward, this is for the next generation who are eager, the entrepreneurs who are eager, or maybe the youth who is eager to come into this photography space. It definitely has, that aura, that kind of a glamour associated. But there is good amount of hard work, learning, continuously updating with technologies, to be grounded, to be always not satisfied, kind of, to get the right frame or composition. So,
Right.
do you have any message for them to be, some do's, some don'ts, to really get into this space of photography?
Yeah, I think one thing you do require is patience. And for all, so it's not a quick result thing. So if you look at the new generations, they're really used to getting everything as and when they desire, right? I mean, I need a phone, I get a phone. I need a laptop, I get it. I mean, there's so in, let's say, our days, what we used to do is we used to work for 5-6 years to even plan for it and then save for it and buy it. So I think that's the difference in photography also. When you take a picture, yes, I mean, you might be kind of famous in the next go, or it'll take time. And that taking time is always the requirement. It does require a lot of patience, tenacity, and then sticking to your ground, and then continuing on your passion and what you want to do. So that will kind of keep you to it. So it's about just loving what you do, so that you can stay with it. You can continue doing it no matter what. And that's something. Those are the values kind of I would expect newcomers, at least in this field. So lots of times I've been into wildlife photography, and then 7-8 journeys I had into jungles, but never saw a tiger. So I mean, the bus behind me did see it. After 1 hour, I came to know, oh, the tiger was there, but I could never see it. Now do I give it up, or do I be patient and do I stay there? It happens in bird photographies. I mean, for hours you sit in one place just to get a glimpse of the bird. And that builds also, plus you have to have also. It's a combination of the two. I mean, if you have, you will sit there. Plus, once you sit there, it'll grow inside you. So next time you will still wait there for hours just to kind of get a glimpse of a bird and get a good shot of that. So that's the key values, is what I would say.
Right. I see a huge amount of a person to be creative, impulsive, being able to get that spot, that time, as well, huge amount of patience as far as success is concerned, outcomes are concerned. So it's kind of a difficult trade-off of characteristic that you need to build. And I see even the creative field like music, dovetailing into it to really add that up. So great talking to you, Arjun. It has been really amazing to talk to you. Thanks for this time.
Thank you very much.
Great. And all of our best wishes for your venture, and may you take it to the heights that actually it deserves.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
बिजनेस कोई भी हो, सक्सेस की नींव हम रखते हैं।
बुलंदियों को छूने की आपके अरमानों की उम्मीद जगाती जोत है, हर सपनों का हम स्रोत है।
सही स्ट्रेटेजी, परफेक्ट डिसीजन मेकिंग और बिजनेस ग्रोथ के लिए हम आपके साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर आपकी स्वप्न पूर्ति करते हैं। स्त्रोत कंसल्टेक, सिनर्जाइजिंग ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन।